Right. So we read the thumbnail of this YouTube video and then probably decided to click on it that, oh, is there a new clause in ethics? Yeah. So those of you who have started studying for CA final audit would be knowing that there is a chapter in CA final audit which is regarding the professional ethics. And we always know that there are the 34 clauses of the ethics, right? The first schedule and then the second schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. And we always said that, there are the 19 clauses in the first schedule and the 15 clauses under the second schedule. Okay. But ICAI has come up with the CA Amendment Act 2022, right? So if you put on Google CA Amendment Act 2022, right, you get a look at the act which has been issued under the Gazette of India. And under that particular act, right, we get to read regarding the changes, right? So one, as you know, we have the first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act, and then we have the second schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act, right? We say under the first schedule, we have part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And under the second schedule, we have the part 1, 2, and 3. Right, part 1, first schedule, we know it is PM, professional misconduct for CA in practice. Part 2, first schedule is professional misconduct for CA not in practice, that is for CA in service. Part 3, first schedule is professional misconduct generally, that means applicable to all chartered accountants. And part 4 is the other misconduct generally. Right, second schedule, we have the part 1, again, professional misconduct for CA in practice. Part 2, second schedule, professional misconduct generally, and the part 3, second schedule is the other misconduct generally, right? And then we have the 12 clauses, 2 clauses, 3, 2, and then the 10, 4, and the 1 clause, right? So that's the existing breakup of the 34 clauses of ethics, wherein you have the 19 clauses under the first schedule and the 15 clauses under the second schedule. Okay. Right. So where do we see the change? One, there is a change in the content of the clause 911. And a clause 9, part 1 of the first schedule. And the new clause which have been introduced over there is the clause 5, part 2 of the second schedule. Right. So yes, you hear me right. What is the new clause which has been introduced over there? The clause 5 of the part 2 of the second schedule. The clause 5 of the part 2 of the second schedule. Okay. Right. So one, let us first look into the revision which is done to the clause 9 of the part 1 of the first schedule, and then what is the new clause 5 of the part 2 of the second schedule. Right. So what was the existing provision of the clause 9 of the part 1 of the first schedule? We always said clause 9, section 139. Right? So we say except appointment. So a chartered accountant in practice or a member of the institute in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts appointment as an auditor of a company without first ascertaining whether the provisions of section 139 to section 141 of the Companies Act 2013 in respect of such appointment have been duly complied with. Right? So incoming auditor, you have to check that whether the company has complied with the provisions of section 139 to section 141 of the Companies Act 2013 in respect of such appointment. Now, what does it say? In addition to 139, 141, after that it also says, so, accepts appointment as an auditor of a company, yes, without first ascertaining that whether the provisions of section 139 to section 141 of the Companies Act 2013 or any other law pertaining to the appointment of the auditors for the time being in force has been, without first ascertaining whether the provisions of section 139 to section 141 of the Companies Act 2013, and then after that you add any other law pertaining to the appointment for the time being in force, whether it has been complied. Right, so whether it has been complied with, right? So that's the amendment. Earlier, it only said you have to check the compliance with section 139 to 141. Now it also says any other law pertaining to the appointment of the auditor for the time being in force. Right, so it could be the SEBI LODR regulations, it could be the income tax. So, any of the provisions relating to the appointment of the auditor given under any other law. Right? So that's one amendment under the 911. And second one, in the second schedule to the Principal Act, it says, what does it say? One for the 312. For the clause 3, part 1 of the second schedule, which is regarding vouchers for the accuracy of the forecast. What does it say? If he permits his name to be used in connection with estimate of earnings contingent upon future transaction in a manner which may lead to the belief that he vouches for the accuracy of the forecast. Now, instead of saying in a manner which may lead to the belief that he vouches, in a manner which may lead to the belief that he or his firm, believe that vouches for the accuracy of the forecast, right? So there again, there is a substitution. And now coming to the new clause over there. What does it say? If a chartered accountant, whether in practice or not, shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he acts as an auditor of a company in contravention of the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Right. So when you clicked on this particular YouTube thumbnail and I told you that there is a new clause in ethics over there, this is the new one. It acts as an auditor of if guilty of professional misconduct if he acts as an auditor of a company in contravention, non-compliance of any of the provisions. So clause 9 is specific to section 139 to section 141 or any other law pertaining to the appointment of the auditor. 522, it is talking about the contravention of the provisions of the entire company. It acts as an auditor of the company in contravention of the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Like simply put, how many company audits CA can accept? There is a limit on company audit, 141 3G, like 20, right? Excluding certain audits. So if you accept 20 first audit, then you are guilty of professional misconduct also under the 532. Okay. Right. So originally in the part 2 of the second schedule, the part 2 of the second schedule, right? We had this clause 122, which was regarding the contravenes, any of the provisions of the act, regulations made there under or the guidelines issued by the council. Then 222, which was breach of confidentiality by CA in service. Right? So when you're working as an employee, you breach the confidential, you disclose confidential information regarding the employer. 322 is regarding the false particulars in any information form return statement to ICAI. 422, it is regarding the defalcates, embezzles money received in professional capacity. And now this is the new one which has come over there, right? Contravenes any of the provisions of the Companies Act 2013, right? Contravenes any of the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Right, so that is the new clause which has been introduced over there. Right, so again, we need to wait for the RTP May 25 to be released by ICAI or any update coming, wherein they would say that yes, this particular clause has been added to our syllabus also over there. Because as such, if you look into this particular a CA Amendment Act has been issued by the under the official gazette, right? It's 2022, but again for November 24, right? So April 8 2022, but we did not see it in November 24 RTP, right? So we need to wait to watch for the May 25 RTP, that whether it would be applicable or not. Okay. Right. And apart from that, if we just want to keep an eye on what sort of amendments which we could be expecting in the syllabus for the audit paper, one, the NAFRA, the National Financial Reporting Authority, has already issued the exposure draft of the 600 for comments. So don't know the time frame, but yeah, at some point of time, the 600 auditing standard would be revised. Then not only the 600, they began with the 600, and NAFRA is in the news that they may take up revision of all the 35 or 38 auditing standards over there, including the 800 series. It will be the 38 standards, right? So yeah, that is another, that the auditing standards. So it won't be a big revision over there, but yeah, to some extent there would be certain changes made over there. Then if I look into the auditing and assurance standard board information of the ICAI, right? If I look into the ICAI, right? So there, one, I noticed that, on the what date? On the 14th of October 24, right? They've already issued the SQM. So now that SQC is going to become SQM, because they say you can't control, you have to manage, right? So standard on quality management one, and earlier there was only one SQC one, but now it's becoming SQM one and SQM two, right? Because the EQCR part, they've taken it out separately. Right? So you see SQM1, quality management for firm that performs, rest of the name is same, for that perform audits or reviews of the financial statements. Earlier it was historical financial information or other assurance or related services engagement. And SQM2 is regarding the engagement quality reviews. And obviously the SA220 is a derivative of the SQC, right? So SQM now. So that is why correspondingly there will also be the amendments to the SA220, which is on the quality control for an audit of financial statements. Right? So on a factual basis, we notice that so used to SQC, but now SQM1 and the SQM2 has been released, by ICAI on the 14th of October 2024, right? So looks like amendments which are 6 months, before the exam. So again, but we need to wait unless and until we get the official information from the ICAI. Right? So that is one area where we notice a change. Then apart from that, also if we look onto the ICAI, the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, right? You see that there is the issuance, right? So you have to put AASB ICAI, and then you see the particular issuance of SA 800, 805, and 810, which is again being revised, right? So 800, which is regarding special purpose framework, 805 part, and a single financial statement or specific element account item, and 810, which is regarding the summary financial statement. And if I open that particular, say, SA 800, it says it's effective from 1st April 2024, right? So yeah, again, anticipating that again, there would be a new, probably the revised, not the new, but the revised SA 800, 805, and 810. Okay, right. But ma'am, in our books right now, we have SQCs and whether we should study, ma'am, 800. No need to make the huge noise about it. You study the existing one. Obviously, whatever are the incremental or the changes which have been come over there, we will certainly communicate to you through the through the notes and through the amendment video on YouTube. Right? So if you study existing, no harm, rather you have a better appreciation of the change, because generally the questions then come on the amendment. Okay, but yeah, just because on a factual basis, I'm just sharing this particular piece of knowledge with you, that ethics, I see a new clause coming in over there. So, it's always, since the time I started teaching, I used to say 34 clauses in ethics, 34. Now, time for change. I have to say 35 clauses in ethics, 35 clauses in ethics. Okay, right? And then after that, these are the standards, right? So 600 is a long way ahead. But yeah, SQM1, SQM2, and 800, 805, and 810 is where we need to keep an eye upon. Right? So even then, if you come to know about any updates from any other source, right? So you can just let me know about it in the comment box. Okay. Right. So thank you so much for just a patient listening to what I have been saying.